What's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel where today I have one of my absolute favorite cars. This is a Miami blue Porsche Cayman GT4. Today I want to just kind of show you around this thing and show you why I think that this car is the one to get if you want a car that you can drive on both the street and the track. I feel like this almost replaces the 911 GT3 because of the price point. If you take a look at the current market with the 911, you're well over $300,000, which I don't know if you guys know, but the MSRP for a 911 GT3 is about $161,000. So the markup on those cars is absolutely insane. This car starts right around $100,000. I think it's right around $101,000 before options, including shipping. So let's talk a little bit first about performance, because that is what this car is all about. This has a flat 6 4-liter engine that produces 414 horsepower. And as far as driving and everything goes, it is absolutely insane. We're gonna get to that in just a minute. But this is a little bit different setup than the 911. If you know anything about this car, which I'm sure you already do, this is a mid-engine car, so it's incredibly well balanced. If we take a look around it, you can see that the proportions are quite a bit different from the regular 911 because the engine sits in front of the rear axle and not behind it. For me personally, I've always preferred the proportions of the Cayman over the 911. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the 911, but as far as the aesthetics and everything of this car, I absolutely love it. This car does 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, and I know what you're thinking, that's not super impressive as far as a 0 to 60 or acceleration goes, but this car is not really about 0 to 60 times. This isn't about drag races. This is about attacking a track where you have lots of curves and you have to be very agile. That's something that this car does incredibly well. And if you've watched any reviews about this car, you know that people absolutely love it for that reason. The first thing that stands out to me on this car is the color. And this is Miami blue, which unfortunately they don't offer anymore for the 2022 model year. This is something that they ended in 2021. But on this car, this is really the color to have. Probably my favorite spec on this car. You can definitely get it in white, black. They have a dark blue that looks really good, but this is my favorite color for this car, by far. So let's talk a little bit about styling, because for me, that's where this car really puts it over the top. And it's all functional styling as well. The first thing that you notice about the GT4 is this huge, incredible wing. And basically, for track use, that takes all of the air that comes off the back of the car and it uses it to push the back end down. And this is a rear-wheel drive car, so remember, downforce is incredibly important. But more than that, it also has the front splitter over the front wheels. Now, it's so important to have downforce over the front wheels because that's where all of your turning traction comes from. In order to get this car around corners as quickly as possible, it needs that extra downforce. And you can see this lip right here, how it is a little bit more exaggerated than the typical Cayman. If you take a look at the front bumper, you can see that we have some huge scoops right here that take the air and it pushes it through the radiators. As far as functional aero, this one has a lot of it, and that's something that I absolutely love about these cars. If you take a look at this huge vent right here, this is completely functional. So the air comes in through the bottom right here, and then it gets released over top. This creates a bunch of high pressure over top of the front of the car. Again, it's all about keeping the front very heavy, because again, with more weight, you get more traction. This car is running Dunlop Sport Max Race 2s, and you guessed it, carbon ceramics. Carbon ceramics are really a must-have option if you're going to be getting a car that you're going to be using on the track, which this one is tracked, so obviously he has the carbon ceramics. It's an $8,000 option, so it's not cheap, but if you're tracking this car, it's definitely worth it. Let's go ahead and see how much storage space you get in both the back and the front, because again, this is a mid-engine car, so you have space in both sides. Lift this up, and you see that we have a good amount of space back here. It's not a ton of space, but you have at least enough space to be able to put a couple bags, maybe an overnight bag, a backpack. You can definitely fit a couple things back here. But also, if you take a look right here, you have the coolant and you have the oil that's right here. And the owner has told me that this is incredibly easy to change and do, oil changes and flushes and stuff like that. Regular maintenance isn't too incredibly hard. And he actually does all this stuff himself, which is pretty awesome. Now you actually have a good amount of space in here as well. So you can see all of this stuff is covered up. There's a little cover right here that you can actually take off, and there's the battery and everything is back here. But if you look at the amount of storage space that you have, you've got a lot of space in here. I mean, there's enough for a good size piece of luggage, like a suitcase. It's not completely impractical. It's not like something that you're gonna take on a super long trip, like a cross-country trip or anything like that. I mean, obviously you can if you want to, but as far as storage space, it has a good amount. So grocery getter, it works. So the first thing that you notice when you sit inside this car is the steering wheel, and I love Porsche steering wheels. This is a 3-prong design. It has the Alcantara wrap with the little yellow stripe. It's very well put together. It feels really good in your hands. I just love Porsche interiors. So this is a Alcantara and leather combination, and you see that all over the place. So you have Alcantara in the middle of the seats. You have leather on the outside, the bolsters and everything on the seats, on the headrest. This one has the carbon fiber upgraded seats, which I think are a couple $1,000 option. In this car, if you're tracking it, again, it's a must-have thing because they really hold you in place when you're going around those corners. This one has a manual transmission, and this shift boot is wrapped in Alcantara as well. This is a 6-speed manual transmission that feels really good in your hands. They throw in a short shifter in this car as well from the factory. So you can, obviously, if you don't like it, you can replace it, but I mean, it feels really good just right off the bat. This is an actual driver's car. This is something that's really, really nice to use. One of the things I really love about this car is the mechanical tachometer and the speedometer as well. They haven't gone fully electric as far as all their infotainment stuff, which is easy to do nowadays because that stuff is so accessible. In a car like this that's really fun to drive, it's nice to have that mechanical feel to it. So you have tachometer, you have a speedometer, and you also have a lap timer right here, as well as a clock. So whenever it's not a clock, it's a lap timer. But that's pretty nice. One of the things I love about this, and you can tell it's a racing Porsche because you have this little piece of fabric right here instead of an actual door handle, which I like because it's an easy way to know that you're in a really special car. It saves weight, and it also matches the seatbelt, which you can see is also finished in yellow. But as far as the interior goes, it is very nice in here. So I definitely want to introduce you to the guy that owns this car. This is one of my good friends, Brian, and you can find him on Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and throw his handle up there. But he's the one who's lending us this car, and this is Brian. So Brian, good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
So tell us a little bit about how you got this car, because I know the backstory is he actually bought an M2 from me at BMW, but then he traded it for this last year, which obviously that was a good trade. But tell us a little bit about how you got into this car and what drew you to it.
I have one of my dearest friends, Bob Vertel, actually got me hooked on Porsches. The year I lost my dad, Bob let me drive his GT3. We went down to Sebring and got to enjoy the 12-hour. And hearing the howl of that flat six was just so intoxicating, the handling of the car, and just seeing how the true Porsche enthusiasts down at the Porsche Platz, they loved the car. They didn't care who or what you were, they just loved the engineering of the car. So Bob Vertel actually got me into this, and I fell in love with Porsches, and the M2 is a beautiful car. I love that car, but this is just, this is like an F16 compared to that. This is a dream car for me, and it was actually achieving a dream.
All right, guys, so what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna take this car out on a test drive, something that I've always wanted to do, my first drive in a Porsche GT car. So I'm gonna go ahead and get Brian. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Man, that thing sounds good.
Yeah, it does. It does. And with the infuser out, it's all yours. You got the engine right there. You can hear the noises.
Right.
You can hear the gear shift. It's like you can hear everything.
What exactly did you do to this to make it a little bit more track focused and make it easier to drive on the track?
I actually did a little bit more camber as far as put in the front. I need to get some toe links for up front.
Okay.
So I can add in just a little bit more just because I wanted to have a little bit better turn in. I put the over the axle pipes because I wanted to get rid of that heat sinking back, especially on the track, because the track you get a lot of heat cycles that's going around. So the biggest thing was letting the engine breathe with the air filters and exhale as far as the over the axle pipes.
Right.
But the toe links are going to be the next thing. Basically, from Porsche, she's ready for the track, so she's ready to go.
Clutch engagement is a little bit shallow, actually.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. First impressions on this thing, it's incredibly tight. You can definitely feel everything, but I see what you say about the seats. They're just incredibly comfortable.
Porsche did a beautiful job on their carbon seats, on their bucket seats. They're an expensive option, but they're totally worth it. I wouldn't want a car without the carbon.
Definitely worth it, I think. So,
yeah, 100%.
So this car, for me, and this is kind of a controversial take on this, but this kind of almost replaces the 911 GT3 as far as filling that gap in the market. Because when you think about it, the GT3 used to be, the affordable supercar, the affordable track-focused supercar, and now it seems like it's more of this car.
Yeah, pretty close. You're exactly right. This car reminds me a lot of the first GT3 I drove.
Yeah.
My friend had a silver 991.1 GT3, and this car handles very similar as far as its power output, I think that one was 475 horse. This one's probably pushing about 420 with over the axle pipes. So this reminds me a lot of his silver GT3. And the nice part is these cars actually are taking that level where you could get a 991 GT3 for 149,000. Now those are going up. So you're looking at 180, 190 for markups.
Right.
I saw a 991.2 GT3 for 221,000 the other day with 5,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
So this car actually you could get into, if you can find a dealership that doesn't have a markup, you're pushing about 139 for this car.
Whereas in terms of performance, how does this stack up? Because you race alongside GT3s all the time. How does this stack up to one of those cars?
The 991.1 GT3 is very similar to this as far as feel to me. Driving the rhodium silver GT3 in this. The 992 variant's got a lot more downforce, and they've got that brutally strong engine, that 9,000 RPM redline engine. That's just a beautiful engine. So they've got the power when they get out of the corner to absolutely just squirt ahead. Where this one, I catch them in the corners because this handles so much better with the mid-engine design. I can carry more speed into the corner, apex the corner, and shoot out. I can catch them on the corners and actually carry more speed out. But the new 992s have such a hellishly strong engine that it just rockets. They just shoot from corner to corner. And they've also got the rear wheel steering in the GT3. This doesn't. Yeah. This is kind of the old school. Yeah, this is an old school design. It's weird to say old school, but when you think about it, what else can you get on the market right now that's naturally aspirated, that has that's set up for the track, that has a manual transmission, that's actually really, really worth it to get? I mean, this is one of the only things that I can think about. I mean, I'm sure there are other cars, and I'll be corrected in the comments, but as far as like a pure driving experience and something that you can really attack a track with, this is it. Yeah, this thing is an absolute track weapon. The only other car I think that could even come close to comparing is maybe the M2 CS. Yeah, everything is just so tight. I mean, everything feels so good. This feels the way every car should. I mean, as far as responsiveness, as far as in tune with the road, this is the ultimate, track, like you said, track weapon. That's exactly what it is, and I feel so in tune with the road and so in tune with the car itself, and it's just awesome. I've never felt anything really like this. So this revs up to 8,000 RPMs. Yep. Let's hear what that sounds like. Let me go ahead and drop it into. This every day? Yeah. This is sitting in your garage? This is actually sitting in my garage. It's an exercise in restraint every time I get in it. Absolutely gorgeous sound. Holy gosh. That is effortless. Yeah. And oh my gosh, that flat six absolutely sings. It really does. It's the most beautiful melody. I hope we got that good on the microphone, because that is just incredible. I've never been in anything that feels like this. Performance, there are plenty of other cars that are faster than this. I mean, the 0 to 60 isn't like, it's not crazy good. I mean, it's good. 4.2 seconds is nothing to balk at. Yeah. But I mean, as far as like sound and handling. And everything, the handling is just, it's like a roller coaster. Yeah, it really is. And the cool part is the brakes, you only have to dip in a little bit, and you've got effectiveness. You don't have to go crazy with the brakes on this. You don't have to like really push them. You don't feel like you have any brake fade. And the cool part, this is a much lighter car, but they use the GT3 brakes on this thing. So you've got these massive brakes for a very light car, so you've got incredible handling. I can't even imagine like a GT3. I can't even imagine what that is like. I mean, this is probably the most pure car I've ever driven. I mean, as far as handling and everything, just like you've said, I've never really understood it until now. Yeah, it's amazing. The GT3 with PDK is intoxicating. I mean, spending all the years I did at the fly-in when I used to work air ops, I was around some amazing airplanes, you know, V12 engines, radial engines, you know, all sorts of wonderful sounds. But after riding in a GT3 and hearing that engine go up to 9,000 RPM, that sound touches your soul.
It does. This one does too. I mean, 8,000 RPMs is absolutely insane. And I don't know why you would ever want the PDK version of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the transmission is effortless. It does most of the work for you. I mean, it does the rev matching, and you can actually turn that off as well. I mean, that's not something that you
can
have
heel
to
toe
do.
it. PDK car will be quicker than this around the track, and of course the new RS version is the ultimate of all the worlds.
Right.
GT3 engine and this chassis is just going to be phenomenal.
I can't imagine that either. I mean, that's probably incredible. I mean, around a track, obviously, when you can really open it up, I'm sure you can see the difference. I mean, this is just beautiful.
Well, Brian, I want to just say a huge thank you for letting us take a look at this car today. I mean, we get to drive some pretty cool cars, but as far as like a purist driver's car, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is probably the best one that I've ever driven, and definitely the best one for the money. As far as performance, as far as a track weapon, this is probably the best thing that you can get. If you want to spend the extra $150,000, $160,000 on a GT3, I mean, you can, but as far as this price point, I don't see anything else that rivals this as far as performance. This thing is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for letting us drive it today. I mean, that was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. Guys, let me know what you think about this video. Let me know if you like this style of video. I mean, but for now, that's going to be it. We'll see you next time.